Welcome to NetTuts. In today's video quick tip, I'll show you how to display elements sequentially using jQuery. It's very easy. I'll give you a quick example on my site. I'm rebuilding it for next year. And it has an area for the tutorials where you can just view everything I've written. And there's an option to filter them down, as you can see right here. But then if you want to reset, it'll display each one sequentially really fast, like so. Hopefully you can see that in this frame rate. So I'll show you how to build that. It's pretty easy. So let's go into our editor, and I have some beginning markup. We have an unordered list, and this just wraps a bunch of list items and images. Pretty simple. And then we go to each list item, we float it, we remove the bullet, and then we apply some spacing around it. So if I preview that, pretty simple, right? All right, so to keep things simple, let's go ahead and hide both of these because you know what's going on. Here, I'm referencing jQuery 1.4.4. And all we want to do here is get the list items. So I'm going to wrap that. Now, one thing you'll see often is something like this. Now, of course, in order to display them sequentially, they need to be hidden by default, right? So you'll see something like this, li.hide. And that does work, and that works fine. But it's really not necessary. If you want, just go ahead, call the hide method, and we'll change that to li's. Now what that does is we get the list items and we hide them, but it's still going to return the jQuery object containing all of the list items on the page. So that's still going to work just as well, and you save a line. Alright, so you might think we could do something like each, but why don't we do something fun? And we'll do a self-invoking function, and we'll call it display images, right? Now I'm going to call it, so this is what triggers it. And then this wrapping parentheses right here, it's just to let the user know something's going on and that you need to pay attention. Okay, so within here we're going to say li's, but we need to use the EQ method. In this we can pass an index and it'll filter that collection down to only that specific item. So what we'll do here is begin by creating an iterator. All right, and what I'll say is li's.eq ++ I dot fade in over the course of 500 milliseconds. So what is ++ I here? That will increment I by 1. So you probably have seen I++. What this would do is it would get EQ 0 dot fade in. And then the next time EQ 1 fade in. But what ++ in the front does is it increases it before reading it. So this first time would be EQ 1 fade in, EQ 2. So it depends on the situation. However, in this case, EQ is 0 based. So I want that to be 0 by default. So we'll go ahead and increment it after it. And then when you're done fading in, here's the callback function as the second parameter of fade in. And all we're going to do is call this function again recursively, display images. All right, so let's try that out, preview it. And sure enough, one after the other, it fades in. Pretty cool. Now, of course, you don't want it to be that slow. Don't make your users wait, but maybe set it to something like 45, and then you get to see them, and it adds a little bit of flair when you want to show everything. If you want to add this to a click event, you could do something like p show images. And you know what, this p, because the images are floated above, I'm just going to hard code this in. Don't do this at home. Preview, so now we have a preview images, and let's go ahead and by default the list items are hidden, but then we're going to wrap this within a click event. So we'll say a.click, and then we're going to run a function, and of course you would probably want to clean this up and put it all within a wrapping function so you don't have all of these globals lying around, right? Like so. Alright, so now I'm being super generic here, assuming there's one anchor tag. Be careful about that in your own project. Be specific. A-click, and then EQ. We can go ahead and get rid of I, because that can just go within this function. So var I equals 0. And that should do it. So let's preview it, show images, and sure enough, it shows really rapidly. So if you want to move this up to 200 just for the frame rate of this video to see, show images 1. And now you can see it. And like I said, it's just a little something with JavaScript you can use to add a bit of flair. And then of course, if JavaScript is disabled, disable JavaScript, you're still going to see all of the images just fine. But you do have the show images. So what you sometimes want to do is maybe display none, something like that. And by the way, put this into its own class. I'm being lazy here. And then you would display it with JavaScript. And the advantage to that, and again, I'm going to be super generic here. And the advantage to that is that when JavaScript is disabled, you don't see any anchor tags that might confuse the people. But when it is enabled, you do see the anchor tag, and it provides some different functionality. So yeah, you'd want to clean this up a little bit and organize it, but that's an easy way where you call a function recursively to animate things sequentially. There's other ways you can do each. You can use traditional for statements, but I like this method. So let me know what you think, and for more tips and tutorials, always please subscribe to NetTuts. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Bye.